The fastest way to make a beautiful woman disappear isn't wrinkles. It's a scarf tied with yesterday's thinking. That may sound surprising. After all, a scarf is just a piece of fabric, and a blazer is simply another layer. But after spending decades studying garments, not just how they're made, but how they're experienced, I can tell you something that most fashion advice completely misses. I've seen women walk into a room wearing exquisite wool blazers, luxurious silk scarves, flawless tailoring, and every visible sign of quality. Yet within seconds, they seemed to fade into the background. Not because they lacked beauty, not because of their age, but because their clothes spoke so loudly that the woman herself became strangely quiet. A designer doesn't begin by asking, "What's fashionable?" We ask a far more revealing question. Which part of this outfit is stealing attention from the woman wearing it? That single question changes everything. Welcome to EverGrace Style, where timeless elegance is never about chasing trends or pretending to be younger. It's about understanding the quiet language of great design and using it to reveal confidence, dignity, and presence. Today, I'm going to share 7 scarf and blazer mistakes that instantly add years. Not because the pieces are outdated, but because they're working against you instead of for you. More importantly, I'll show you the subtle design principles that create effortless elegance without buying an entirely new wardrobe. Because after 60, style isn't about adding more. It's about knowing what deserves to remain. There is one mistake I notice almost instantly. And once you see it, you'll begin spotting it everywhere. A scarf that demands attention before the woman wearing it. This is where many elegant intentions quietly lose their elegance. One of the first lessons you learn as a fashion designer is that every outfit has a visual hierarchy. Not every piece should speak with the same volume. Some elements lead, others support. The finest garments understand their role without competing for attention. A scarf was never created to become the headline. It was created to become the frame. Think about the world's finest portrait paintings. The frame is carefully chosen, beautifully crafted, sometimes even extraordinary. Yet if the frame becomes the first thing you notice, it has already failed its purpose. Your eyes should arrive at the face before you ever admire what surrounds it. A scarf works exactly the same way. And this is where most women get it completely wrong. They choose the brightest print, the boldest contrast, or the most dramatic knot, because they believe it creates personality. In reality, it often creates competition. The eye lands on the scarf, lingers there, and never fully reaches the expression, the smile, or the quiet confidence that makes a woman memorable. I've watched this happen countless times during private fittings. A client would stand in front of the mirror, wearing a beautifully tailored blazer, with an expensive silk scarf tied perfectly at the neck. Everything looked correct. Yet something felt strangely disconnected. The outfit was beautifully composed, but the woman had disappeared inside it. The solution isn't to stop wearing scarves. It's to choose scarves that guide the eye rather than capture it. Look for softer transitions instead of harsh contrasts. Let the texture add richness before the color demands attention. Allow a graceful fold to replace an elaborate knot. When the scarf gently leads the eye upward, instead of stopping it at your neckline, your face becomes the true focal point. This sounds like a small adjustment, but it changes everything. The most elegant scarf is rarely the one people remember. It's the one that quietly helps them remember you. There is a moment that tells me everything I need to know about a blazer. It isn't when a woman first puts it on. It's the moment she forgets she's wearing it. Most shopping happens in front of a fitting room mirror. You stand still. Your shoulders are square. Your arms rest comfortably at your sides. For a few brief seconds, almost any well-made blazer can look impressive. But clothing is never judged by stillness. It is judged by life. Now here's the part nobody talks about. When I evaluate a blazer, I don't begin with the mirror. I begin with movement. I watch what happens when a woman reaches for her handbag, leans across a dinner table, hugs a friend, adjusts her glasses, or slips one hand into a pocket, while waiting for her coffee. Those ordinary moments reveal the truth. Some blazers resist every gesture. The shoulders become rigid. The fabric pulls across the back. The lapels shift awkwardly. Instead of following the body, the garment seems determined to remind everyone that it exists. And that's exactly what elegant tailoring should never do. The finest blazers behave almost like trusted companions. They move quietly. They settle naturally. They create structure without creating stiffness. You notice the woman first, and only later realize how beautifully her jacket supported every movement she made. Imagine two women arriving at the same gallery opening. Both wear navy blazers of similar quality. One constantly smooths her sleeves, straightens her lapels, and tugs at the hem after every few steps. The other greets friends, laughs freely, reaches for a glass of sparkling water, and never once thinks about her jacket. People will assume the second blazer is more expensive. Often it isn't. It's simply working in harmony with the woman inside it. The next time you try on a blazer, don't stop at the mirror. Walk, sit down, cross your arms, reach overhead, pick up your handbag. Turn naturally as if someone has just called your name. Because true luxury isn't measured by how a blazer looks when you're standing perfectly still. It's measured by how beautifully it disappears when you're living your life. Have you ever looked at a woman and thought, something feels elegant, even though you couldn't explain why? More often than not, the answer has very little to do with the clothes themselves. It has everything to do with where your eyes were invited to travel. One of the quietest secrets in fashion design is that color is not decoration. Color is direction. Unfortunately, many women have been taught the opposite. They're told to create bold contrast, wear statement accessories, or choose striking combinations that pop. The intention is understandable. But elegance has never depended on surprise. It depends on flow. As designers, we don't ask whether two colors look beautiful together. We ask a more important question. Where will the eye go first? And where will it go next? That single question changes the entire outfit. Imagine a crisp white blazer paired with a vivid crimson scarf wrapped tightly at the neck. The contrast is dramatic. Your eyes stop immediately at the scarf, almost as if they've reached a visual stop sign. The face becomes secondary. Now imagine a soft ivory blazer with a muted dove gray silk scarf. There is still contrast, but it's gentle. Instead of stopping your gaze, the colors create a pathway. Your eyes move naturally upward, resting on the woman's expression, before quietly taking in the details of her outfit. This sounds small, but it changes everything. I've often adjusted nothing more than the color value of a scarf during a fitting. No new jacket, no expensive alterations, just replacing a sharp contrast with a softer transition. Clients rarely notice the technical change. What they noticed was something far more meaningful. They looked brighter, calmer, more sophisticated, not because the outfit had become more fashionable, but because it had become more intentional. The purpose of contrast is never to compete with your presence. Its purpose is to escort attention toward it. The next time you stand in front of your mirror, don't ask yourself whether your scarf stands out. Ask a better question. Does it gently lead someone to my face? Or does it ask them to stop before they ever arrive? That is the difference between getting dressed and composing a portrait. There is a compliment that has always made me slightly uncomfortable. Not because it's rude, because it misses the point entirely. I absolutely love your scarf. At first, that sounds like success. After all, who doesn't enjoy hearing that something they chose is beautiful? But over the years, I began noticing something fascinating. The women with the strongest personal style rarely received compliments about individual pieces. People didn't say, "Your blazer is stunning," or "What a beautiful scarf." Instead, they said something much harder to explain. "You always look so elegant." That difference may seem subtle. As a designer, I can assure you, it is enormous. Now here's the part nobody talks about. When people remember your accessories, before they remember you, Your wardrobe has quietly taken center stage. The outfit has become the performance, while the woman has become the supporting character. True elegance reverses that relationship. Your clothes should leave an impression without becoming the memory. I once worked with a woman preparing for a family celebration. She arrived wearing a luxurious silk scarf printed with bold jewel tones and an impeccably tailored blazer. Every piece was beautiful on its own, yet together, they felt almost eager to be admired. We changed almost nothing. The scarf became softer in color, the knot became less deliberate. The blazer remained exactly the same. When she looked in the mirror, she smiled for a long moment before saying something I've never forgotten. Now I see myself before I see my outfit. That is the moment every designer hopes to create. Not trendy, not flashy, just unmistakably you. Because the goal isn't for someone to leave a conversation saying, "She had an expensive scarf." The goal is for them to leave thinking, "There was something remarkably graceful about her." Weeks later, they may not remember the color of your blazer. They may not remember the pattern on your scarf. But they'll remember how calm your presence felt, how confident your smile looked, how effortless your elegance seemed. And in the end, that is what great design has always been trying to protect. Not the garment, the woman wearing it. There is a moment when elegance quietly disappears. Ironically, it often happens just after a woman believes she's perfected every detail. Perfection can be surprisingly exhausting to look at. That may sound like an unusual statement from a designer. Aren't designers supposed to pursue perfection? Of course we are, but not the kind most people imagine. The pursuit of perfection in fashion has never been about removing every wrinkle, aligning every seam, or tying every scarf with mathematical precision. Those things create accuracy. They do not always create beauty. Beauty lives somewhere softer. One lesson has followed me through every collection, every fitting, and every season of my career. An outfit needs room to breathe. When every button is fastened, every fold is symmetrical, every lapel sits at perfect attention, and every scarf is tied as though it were measured with a ruler, the result can begin to feel strangely lifeless. Almost museum-like, beautiful, untouchable, but no longer human. This is where many women unintentionally confuse polished with controlled. Luxury has never looked nervous. It has never felt afraid of a little movement. Think about the women whose style stays with you long after they've left the room. Their blazer sleeve may reveal just enough of a crisp cuff. Their scarf may fall with a soft, effortless drape instead of a perfectly engineered knot. Their jacket might remain open as they walk, allowing the fabric to move naturally with each step. None of those choices are accidents. They are signs of confidence. Because confidence doesn't need constant correction. The next time you finish getting dressed, resist the urge to adjust one more time, and then one more after that. Step back. Take one slow look. Then leave something alone. A graceful fold. An open blazer. A relaxed scarf. Comfort matters, but over-controlled comfort is not the same thing as effortless style. The women who always appear refined aren't obsessed with making every detail perfect. They understand something much more valuable. Elegance begins the moment your clothes stop looking managed and start looking lived in. There is a look that no luxury brand can sell. No tailor can sew it. No boutique can hang it on a rack. It's the quiet confidence of a woman who looks completely at home in her own clothes. That is the difference between being dressed and being comfortable in your elegance. Over the years, I've noticed that many women mistake polish for perfection. They believe elegance comes from holding everything in place, standing a little straighter than feels natural, adjusting their blazer every few minutes, checking whether the scarf is still perfectly centered. The intention is understandable, but the result often feels tense, and tension has a way of becoming visible. This sounds small, but it changes everything. The finest clothing was never designed to make you more aware of yourself. It was designed to make you forget about yourself. When a blazer fits beautifully, your shoulders relax without being told to. When a scarf is chosen well, you stop touching it because it already belongs exactly where it should. That freedom changes the way you move, the way you laugh, the way you greet people, even the way you pause before speaking. I've watched women step out of a fitting room looking technically flawless, yet they carried themselves as though they were protecting the outfit instead of enjoying the day. Every movement was careful. Every gesture seemed rehearsed. Then, after one simple adjustment, a softer fabric, a lighter scarf, a blazer with more natural drape, the entire mood changed. They smiled more, they moved more freely, and suddenly everyone assumed they looked more elegant. The clothes hadn't become dramatically different. The woman had become visible again. Style after 60 is not about looking younger, it's about looking freer. Because freedom is one of the rarest forms of elegance. The next time you catch yourself checking your reflection for the 5th time before leaving home, pause for a different reason. Ask yourself one question. Am I wearing these clothes, or are these clothes wearing me? If the answer is the second one, the outfit still has work to do. If the answer is the first, you've already found something far more valuable than fashion. You've found ease. There is one mistake that sits quietly beneath all the others. You won't find it on a care label. You won't fix it by buying another blazer. And no scarf, no matter how luxurious, can solve it on its own. It's the moment your clothes begin explaining your age, instead of expressing your character. That distinction may seem small. In truth, it changes everything. For far too long, women have been given only 2 choices: dress younger, and risk looking as though you're chasing time, or dress age-appropriate, and slowly disappear into clothing that asks for nothing because it expects nothing. As a designer, I've never believed either option. Clothing should never negotiate with your birthday. It should reflect your standards. I've met women in their 70s whose quiet elegance could outshine someone decades younger, not because they looked younger, but because every decision they made felt deliberate. Their blazer didn't announce a generation. Their scarf didn't follow a trend. Nothing about their appearance pleaded for attention. Everything about it invited respect. That is a very different kind of beauty, and perhaps a much rarer one. A well-dressed woman over 60 isn't trying to rewrite the past. She isn't competing with youth. She isn't asking fashion to erase the years that shaped her. She wears a beautifully cut blazer because she values structure. She chooses a refined scarf because she understands balance. She edits her wardrobe because she knows that confidence grows quieter as it grows stronger. That is the language of timeless style. When someone meets you, they should never leave thinking, she dresses like a woman in her 60s, or she's trying to dress like she's 40. Those sentences have missed the point entirely. Instead, let them leave with a different impression. She has extraordinary taste. She carries herself beautifully. There was something unforgettable about her. Years from now, your scarves will eventually fade. Your favorite blazer may one day wear thin at the cuffs. Fashion will continue to change, just as it always has. But character never goes out of style. So let your wardrobe say something far more meaningful than your age. Let it quietly reveal the standards you've spent a lifetime building. Because in the end, the most elegant woman in the room is rarely the one wearing the most beautiful blazer. She's the one whose presence makes every beautiful blazer seem even more beautiful. Before we finish, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. After a lifetime in fashion, I've come to believe that elegance has very little to do with owning extraordinary clothes. It has everything to do with making ordinary pieces feel extraordinary through thoughtful choices. A scarf is only fabric until it begins to frame your confidence. A blazer is only tailoring until it begins to support your presence. Neither one was ever meant to become the most interesting thing about you. You were. If today's conversation has a single message, let it be this. The finest wardrobe is not the one that attracts the most attention. It's the one that quietly returns attention to the woman wearing it. That is why true style becomes more powerful with age. Not because we learn to buy better, because we finally learn what deserves our attention and what doesn't. So the next time you stand in front of your mirror, before adjusting your scarf one more time, or reaching for a different blazer, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself a different question. Does this outfit introduce my clothes, or does it introduce me? The answer may change the way you get dressed for the rest of your life. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 7 ideas surprised you the most? And has a scarf or blazer ever made you feel more like yourself, or less? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy thoughtful conversations about timeless style, graceful dressing, and the quiet principles that never go out of fashion, I hope you'll subscribe to EverGrace Style and join us again. Because in our next video, we're going to explore another secret that has nothing to do with trends, and everything to do with why some women are remembered long after they've left the room.